Good morning. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this August 19th, 2025 working session of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Shelby Rockawick, our office coordinator, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Shelby.
There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's working session, whether you are joining us in person or virtually. If you are here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you are joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you are joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the submit a comment in the chat feature and we will help you troubleshoot. If you would like to close captioning during this meeting, you will have to manually change your settings. Click on the captions button and select show captions. The audio and the video of this meeting is being recorded and a link to the recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door and it is also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Shelby. I now call this August 19th, 2025 working session to order and ask Shelby to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Llamas.
Present.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
The following directors are in attendance. Managing Director Matt McDonald, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer Brent Schlack, Director of Finance Dan Ackerman.
Very good. I would appreciate a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move. Support.
Additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, Shelby, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Llamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. The agenda is approved as presented, and wanting to make a note that Commissioner Smers has indicated that he regrets he'll be unable to attend this morning's working session, but intends to be present this afternoon for the regular meeting. Our next agenda item is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board, and Shelby will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you are attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. We will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments.
And we have no in-person attendees, it doesn't appear, so we need not describe how that works. I would like to note that our County Commissioner Liaison Caroline Sanders is present virtually with us this morning. Good morning, Caroline. Next item on the agenda is our working session business items. There are 4 of them. And at this time, I will turn the gavel over to our Managing Director, Matt McDonald.
Thank you, Chair Fuller. I'll invite Adam to come on up. We're going to work through the agenda and Adam's going to help us along with a variety of these topics. Also, I just want to note one point of clarification. Dan is off today, so he is moving his daughter into Michigan State today. So he is not. You're not going to see Dan's smiling face, but he'll be back for our next meeting.
And that would be Mr. Ackerman, our Director of Finance.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Adam and walk us through our facilities update.
So the first. An opportunity to really exercise his expertise here next few years. So kind of excited about that. So for the agenda today, simple in this portion of the feasibility study is really just overview of that study, question and answer opportunity, Then we do want to touch on unsolicited offers for some of the properties that we see routinely. Really just a short conversation just to kind of provide some clarity on how we receive those offers and maybe some of the process we go through when we do get those before we present them to you. Excuse me. So with that, few pictures you see in the screen there, that's actually portions of our Northeast Service Center. So as you all know, we built that between 2017, 2018. Yeah, it's a little bit older now, but still nice and shiny. So we didn't get to do as much study as we liked when we started that. So now we have an opportunity to really study kind of properties that we want to develop and actually what we need, try to make good financial decisions. So we'll kind of reiterate that a few times through this portion of the presentation. So for our feasibility study earlier this year, we advertised for professional architectural and design services to really perform that concept and feasibility study for us. The multiple groups that bid, Hobson Black was selected. Hobson Black Architect has helped us with the multitude of our projects with Southeast Service Center here most recently at our material storage building on this property here at Zebra Road. So wealth of knowledge, doing a little homework for the presentation. I think I found 19 or so agencies they worked for that they built specific things, buildings and material storage.
Hobson Black.
Hobson Black themselves. And no disrespect to anybody else that bid on the project as well, you know, quite a bit of experience in the area. So we're really lucky to have groups that are familiar with what we're doing. So as I say, Hobson Black was selected. And then we kind of started the project here just recently, kind of kicked it off. Our main goal is to take site visits, whether they be virtually, which is a really cool option we're going to get to see, where they have some designs they've done before where they're going to provide us essentially like a 3D walkthrough before we go to a place, or present an option to us. Do you want to go visit, you know, county agency, whatever the case may be. Go there, look at the virtual one first before we load up everybody and try to drive them there. So that's going to be kind of a neat thing that we'll get to utilize here. We will physically be going to Kent County, Kalamazoo County, some of the counties we worked with in the past, and most recently have built some pretty elaborate structures that we want to get some ideas from. So then we'll have a oh yeah, go ahead.
Did either Kent or Kalamazoo counties use Hobson Black?
Yes.
Did they?
Yeah, so different portions of their projects they've worked through. I cannot remember off the top of my head who did the design for Kent County.
Kent did use Hobson Black. They also use Fishbeck for the
There.
feasibility study. So they had the
Yeah.
when we were doing essentially reference checks,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
had the opportunity to speak with their managing director, and he spoke highly of them, but gave a strong recommendation for their experience with Hobson Black on building their central campus, which is a really nice facility. We had Adam and I had the opportunity to take a small tour when we attended the APWA snow conference in Grand Rapids. So
Yep.
looking forward to taking some staff, and also in the stakeholder group, Commissioner Jeff Schmers agreed to kind of represent the board with his
Right.
experience in the industry. We thought that would be a great fit. So he's gonna come along with us. And then obviously we're gonna be presenting to the board at a future working session on the findings of the feasibility study. Ultimately, what we really want to do is understand the needs, understand how it best fits on our existing yard, where kind of siting it, and then also understanding the costs. So that's a big driver, is understanding those costs, and then start planning and working towards it. As Adam can attest,
Yeah.
there are some great needs, particularly for this yard. As you may travel around the building, you'll see a vast amount of equipment outside,
Yes.
and we're looking to solve that.
Yep. So, you know, today we'll kind of overview of just general what we're going to talk about. But as Matt said, when we saw, you know, bits and pieces of smaller tours, now when we go as a group, we kind of dive into the weeds a little bit. That's why we'll come back to a working session and really present finding, because we need to really get into the weeds of the details at a shop, the details in the restroom or locker area, you know, a lot of these different buildings. And that's kind of the next point, you know, current and previous designs that they've kind of worked with or they're currently building, where we can get some general ideas, modernistic ways of building out a locker room. You know, there's some interesting opportunities within the first 5 minutes of our kickoff meeting. We realized maybe better ways of using space. Something as specific as a unisex bathroom where you have division, you know, within the restroom and the locker area. Now you can utilize another 1,000 square feet because you're simply just like cordoning off areas.
Right.
Where before we have some facilities where we have men's and women's restrooms and locker facilities that may only get used twice a year in some aspects. So then we can really combine and just kind of utilize our space a little bit more. So, which that is very specific to the Manchester yard. That's the bottom point, bullet point there, because the Manchester yard has an envelope. You know, we only have so many acres there to work with, and that's fine. At least knowing that from the start, we can really study like, what do we want the most in this building? What sizing fits us the best, and kind of, you know, almost like you scroll it back and forth with your computer when you grab a picture to like size it, like what can we fit in this area? And so that's the part of this study that's really going to help us, because we'll know what we really want and we know what we really need to like park in there, store in there. And then we try to meet somewhere in the middle that matches the budget a little bit. Here at the main yard, and even truck wash, a little bit more space to work with, so that's a good thing. We just, I think on Thursday or Friday, sent a list of how many pieces of equipment we'd like to park and kind of general sizing, because you have to start with your dreams and then figure out what reality is. And so that's really, is it feasible or not to build what we want? So we pick and choose what we need. And then as we go through this process, we'll figure out what the agency actually needs to have on the roof. Because at any given moment, this building or this facility, we probably have $2 to $3 million worth of equipment sitting outside. Ideally, you know, you'd like to get the good majority of that under some type of cover. We're better than what we were before. When we built the material storage building, we created some overhang space, so we can protect a little bit of the equipment. But perfect world, we'd like to be able to go out to a nice dry piece of equipment in the wintertime, get in it and go do what we have to do to come back.
Not have to scrape the windshield.
Yeah, preferably. And some of it's seasonal, so we have different storage methods with that, but we certainly have some need here. So 2 different types of needs with 2 different types of facilities, but that's the point of doing this. And I'll kind of go into the next slide. We're going to review.
Could I just stop you
Yep.
for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you be okay if we hear from Mr. Bussey? We haven't had Dennis.
Sure.
I'd like people to put a face with that
Yes,
name.
come on up.
And
If you'd introduce
if you
yourself.
have anything to add to Mr. Lape's comments, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure.
Identify yourself for the record.
Dennis Bussey, Facilities Supervisor. No, I think the biggest thing I would like to add was with Hobbs and Black, their portfolio of projects is everything from, I believe, Kent County's $80 million main facility
Yep.
to our $5.5 million salt barn and everything in between.
Mm.
So really, they're an organization that has tons of experience and knowledge of what a road commission does, which I think is going to be very beneficial for us to even help us understand the things that we might not even think about.
Mhm.
So just, unless you guys have any specific questions, I just wanted to say, I think we're in really good hands with an organization that has kind of proven their expertise in this area over many projects. So
Good to see you.
thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks, Dennis. Dennis does make a really good point. You know, they understand our language.
Yeah.
Before we get to a design, we're not teaching them what we're doing. We're trying to teach them how to design a building for us. You know, that they can use their expertise and give us suggestions. In the current and previous design point, that bullet point is huge because they have that portfolio is massive. I think the proposal to us was 20 some pages of just picture after picture after picture of things, you know, we would dream to have here. And it's stuff that they've built and designed. So that's gonna be helpful for us moving into the future.
And that would also include satellite yards. They had some great examples of
I'll go to the
Think
next
like
one as we see that.
Manchester Yard, which is really neat. And I think also in that conversation, in our initial kickoff meeting, there was good discussion, how could we utilize our existing facilities, maybe for a different purpose, like the main garage or the shop? How could those be, we don't necessarily need to start over with those, but they could be a different use that we could make,
Retooled a bit.
retool a bit. Yep.
So I zoomed in here actually, because Matt mentioned that kind of a satellite facility. This is like a general sketch you're gonna kind of start with. Our Northeast Service Center started, modeled essentially after Allegan County's main storage facility. And really built off of their shop and then kind of expanded from there and then shrunk down to fit our needs. But here, they start with simple things like a simple pull-through design where I can kind of use a little laser pointer here and show you a pull-through design. So it's limited on, people pulling you back out and you pull through. Increases safety and it gives you a little bit more floor space to work with. So things like that will come about throughout the program and trying to figure out what fits for us. But when you have an envelope to start with, you have to really size yourself and set the orientation of the building very specific to what you're going to do as your operation. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
Madam
didn't
Chair.
see your hand, Joanne.
Oh, I was
That's
wondering
okay.
when I was looking at this about the truck in the middle. Does
Yeah.
that,
This one?
yeah, is that because of, this is the amount of space you can only have, so you,
Oh, that just depicts a truck moving through that area.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so it
okay,
just
because I'm
depicts a
like,
truck
people
moving.
backing.
Pole position.
Yeah, right.
Barn, right.
That's the first guy getting called in, yeah.
Okay,
It-
okay, I
yeah,
understand
It depicts
now.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you can see
that makes
real,
sense.
real neat little intricacies, and then I won't keep us here too long on this, but if I can, you see there's a little square off the side, they take into account everything. Whoops. Right here are what they take into account the measurements for wing plows, so it's crude and
Mm.
rude in a box, in a rectangle here at this point. But they design everything in the building to try to meet and match that. And you see some loaders here, a few motor graders there, some trailers, which obviously we have, which in our case would be, brush trippers, and then a grade all here. So they really get down, like I say, getting fine details and really can get down into the weeds. But you have to when you're going to spend millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And make that right decision.
I think much like our Northeast Service Center, we also built for the future as well. So you do need to account for additional space, knowing that in the future, we're going to see a little growth, I imagine. We may add people to the crew. We may need additional equipment, and equipment's part of the conversation coming up here.
Yeah.
So there's ever growing needs in that regard that we need to plan for these facilities in the future.
Commissioner McCollum.
So we don't have as much as in this drawing, right, as equipment yet.
Not at Manchester. This was just basically spacing for each bay, each individual bay.
Mhm.
Is this yard one?
No, yard one will be much bigger,
Okay.
space wise. Yeah, this was just a general outpost or outbuilding, design.
Satellite yard.
To satellite yard.
Yep.
And so you just try to kind of stagger that, okay, a truck can park here, here and here. But no, Manchester, you're gonna have 2 graders, a loader, probably 6 trucks at maximum, and a few pickup trucks. So you're gonna fit more in probably the elongated portion of it is where you're gonna end up with a
Okay.
building, something like that. And then maybe like a block structure.
Yes.
The restrooms and lockers.
Commissioner Green?
Yeah,
I'm also assuming that to the extent that we can put a vehicle inside, that extends the life of the vehicle.
oh, very much so. That's goal number 1, dream number 1, so to speak. So my list that I sent to Martin Reuter from Hobbs and Black last week, I basically grabbed everything that's assigned to each of these buildings. So each zebra road, which is multiplicity of crews, and then Manchester, anything assigned to them, and said, we need this under roof in Manchester. We want to start to try to get this under roof at Zebra. And then we just start building back from there. Because some piece of equipment we don't use all year long, so we'll put in a different type of storage, or they could be put in cold storage because we tend the batteries and everything, and then we don't use them until spring again. So they can be just undercover. But yeah, anything out of the sun, out of the weather in general, extends the life probably a handful of years easily. Because as you know, most of our stuff works in salt at some point.
Yeah.
And so to keep it in a dry environment would be ideal.
Commissioner Yamas, did you have a question?
I did. So this is not one of our facilities now and how they're gonna read.
No, this is just concept,
This is just concepts.
just a
Okay,
starting footprint.
thank you.
Yep.
I have one question. How are the people who currently work at these two facilities being involved in these conversations? I
So
know
that'll
Commissioner
start-
Smers is.
Yeah, so, and I'll pop back real quick. That'll start in kind of the stakeholders group. So what'll probably happen is we'll take some of the shop to one of the new buildings, probably Kalamazoo, because I really like their shop. So we'll probably take the shop there and let them just touch it, talk, ask questions,
Okay.
everything. And then as far as actual groups, Manchester crew is the easiest one to describe. We're essentially take most of them to these tours, but that's why the 3D tours came up. Because we can go down or have them come up here to one of our big screens and we can walk through buildings and get general ideas. And if, oh, we like this, or that's a really good idea, then go see that agency that they built that for or designed it for. So it's kind of a kickoff point, but that's where the stakeholders will come in. So that's a little bit second step through the process here. We're gonna try to get some initial tours and get our head around what we want to do and then build our groups and ship them off because inevitably they're the ones gonna work out of it.
And
So-
do they have a wish list that they've submitted to you
They haven't
and
submitted, they're
Dennis?
starting to
and-
build them though. Yeah, we've talked to the shop a lot.
So, you know?
It's not as long as you think, actually. The shop has been really good. I've talked a bunch to them because we know, Matt and I experienced this and kind of off topic, but still on topic. When we got to visit Kent City's, DPW build, which is the Kent County Road Commission's old building that they're remodeling for.
In Kent City?
No,
Or
Grand.
sorry, Grand Rapids, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Grand
In
Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
I
sorry.
know. Kent-
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the day before we went, we get to go see the
Mhm.
city building. So we go into Grand Rapids City Building, which is the old road commission. Really cool, great history right along the river. I mean, it's beautiful. Millions and millions and millions of dollars wrapped up into a retrofit.
Mhm.
And that's when Matt at one point in the conversation said, we're gonna build a new shop. Because you run into excessive amounts of money trying to rebuild what you have.
Yeah.
So that's why we've talked to the shop myself a lot to try to see what do you really need? Like, what, do we need a welding shop area for fabrication, which we know we do. So that's a kind of a standalone block portion of the building inside itself for fire prevention, things like that.
Yeah.
So you start adding that together and then you start growing bays as you go. But so we got to see Grand Rapids City's pressure that they had to go through to really turn it in from an old road commission building that probably over 100 years old to a modern way of doing it to the point where no room to park the cars, the employee vehicles. So there's a lot that can come.
It's a small building envelope, which was a very tight site to add onto.
Great
And
location.
we're very blessed in that we're not limited by space, particularly at the main yard. Manchester, there is space, but it is a smaller building envelope. But
And how
here,
old is that
here, the
building?
main yard, I don't know the age offhand.
Pre-World War II?
Oh, this
You're right
one's-
about that time.
The main
42.
garage is 64 here.
Yeah. I think 63 is here. It's our parking, our parking here, our parking storage portion here. And then when Dennis, I had to do some, I maybe for the roof or something we did was about 1942, 43 is when Manchester started coming
Yeah.
in. I think Chelsea Yard was there before Chelsea was a city or a village. So,
Yeah.
I mean, some of these buildings have been around for a while. And so you actually, in another
That
slide.
was
have-
much smaller
Mhm.
in those
Absolutely.
days.
Oh, yeah. So a dump truck would have been the size of something we refer to as light fleet
Mhm.
these days. And so it's just immense changes. And as we've talked time and time again, here we back in and we slide the wings up against each other because metal doesn't yell. So we just park, we touch things together for our snow and ice. So our drivers are great, but that's quite a bit of risk. There's always
Yes.
that opportunity for something not to work out right. But we keep our bumpers looking pretty good so far. So we'll keep that good luck going for a while till we get something a little wider and a little bigger. But we've actually kind of touched on that a little bit, which I guess question and answer we kind of went into. But in general, that's kind of our plan here. We'll start building in stakeholder teams and really start taking off with that as we go. But this opportunity to have the virtual tours is probably going to give us a chance to really show it to more crews because, we couldn't have 50 people go tour something from, main yard sizing because we have quite a few individuals working out of this building. So it'll be nice to be able to show that to the team and then reduce down the groups like, okay, here, you're going to focus on what do we need in the shop and you're going to focus on what we need in the locker room. What do we need? We call them cages, but how do we store our materials
Yep.
in the building? It's like signs and shovels and things like that. Do we need a communal cage where it's just larger, or do we want individual? You know, there's a lot of things that we really have to go through. And so Dennis can really steer that with his individual focus groups that we'll build him.
Right.
And just kind of let our group design it because we have plenty of time. This is a concept. And really just checking to make sure we can make good financial decisions, is the start. So if we have to dream another year or two longer, that's okay. At least we'll get an idea of what we really want as a group, as opposed to just kind of showing up and turning the key and walking into something we may not like.
Commissioner McCollum.
Yes, did we go over the cost of this? May have already, I probably forgot.
Yeah.
Cost of the study, but Dennis, you might have to help me out on this.
Oh, you mean just for the
The study,
feasibility study?
the cost of what this,
We
Yeah,
don't.
that's what the
structure.
feasibility study will do. We're right now submitting the types of equipment, number of individuals reporting, what are our goals? And then eventually they will shape it into, all right, here's the size facility, and start breaking out, here are all the costs. So we do not have any costs as of yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Years ago, we did a master plan.
I have it in a binder.
Exactly. So
I looked at it on.
a few of you have been around for that. We did a yard one master plan.
Yeah.
And there was a big number thrown out there, like $40 million.
Mhm.
So, that was, at
Yes.
that time, that construction cost at that time, and it was a pretty ambitious, large plan. Now, we've accomplished some of those things, like, for instance, we have removed the salt dome and installed and built a new material storage barn. So some of those things have been accomplished. This study will take us to the next step. The next step being for yard one, a garage and truck wash. When we introduce both of those, there's going to be things like having to loop water main. So there's going to be costs for those to serve those facilities. So all that will start getting accounted for in this feasibility study, so we can get our arms around what are truly the costs.
well,
Yeah. And
this
so-
is good to do this, and I think it gives consideration to the constituents.
Hmm.
That, you're making sure that everything we do is gonna fit well, and the cost is going to, be done in a, cover
Yeah.
what it needs to, and not go over or under.
Yeah, and also some of the stuff we've kind of staged in and helped ourselves as we went, because we've been lucky enough to get the material storage building where we moved some of the utilities to the back of the property, so we can get to them a little bit easier now. They're kind of waiting on the next phase of building here at this property. We don't know what kind of development that is yet. But at least when Dennis finished the build for the material storage building, he has most of the utilities out to the back, so that helps us. So then all we have to do is loop those water lines in and kind of be a good neighbor at that point to the township, because well, honestly, they've talked about it more than 12 years I've been here, for future development, kind of connecting that water main back that way. So, yeah, a lot to it. But we've been able to kind of baby step things through, so we're not just jumping into something.
Commissioner Green, did you have a question?
Yes. What does the study cost? What's the cost of feasibility study?
Right now, we're budgeted for,
Approximately.
yeah,
Yes.
approximately $100,000 is budgeted right now,
Okay,
for
that's
this
fine.
group to do this, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, it is expensive to do, but, it's certainly necessary, because we've experienced before, and we've experienced through other agencies where they've kind of went in without a bit of a plan, and the cost goes up quite a bit. Matt and I experienced that watching some of the other agencies here in the last few years try to move things forward. And if you don't kind of make sure everybody's heads go in one direction and have your dreams aligned, you can quickly cost yourself a lot of money.
Change orders are expensive.
Yeah. And you don't want to miss. You
Commissioner
definitely-
Thomas.
And to build on that, that was one of my questions, and about the master plan, because I was here in the master plan and went over that lot of stuff, and we spent a lot of money on that plan. So is this is not gonna change that master plan? It enhances that master plan, or how is it gonna fit together?
Theoretically, it will change probably building placement. We'll probably change that, but that's in theory kind of enhancing it as well, because we may not, the original master plan has the building way, way out back. That was the intention of not being up here. And not being in the front part of the 90 acres or so. So that may change a little bit because we may have better, more efficient, more cost-effective area to build in. So you might see some of the building placement change. Primarily because the salt shed is now, or material storage building is now where we've got it on the master plan, because we made that edit, I believe, in 2022, end of 2022. I think we made that edit in November of that year, where we staged that right there. So now that's kind of the focal point. Our fuel island is probably going to stay where it is. The material storage building will stay where it is, and then we can start working the rest of the space. We may not have to go as far out back.
Okay, so, the cost of that master plan, I don't remember the cost of it. Do you remember the cost of it? It was quite a bit. So that was just, are we gonna work to try and integrate some of that? Are we using the same company?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yep, they're very aware. They
Yeah,
helped
so
us
the
with it.
footprint, and we've enhanced it as we went, because now the master plan has the utilities that we've, redirected out to the back. Like I say, the new material storage building, so that plan is kind of developed as we went, so they keep helping us through that, through
Okay.
parts of the process.
Thank
And I think that was someone they were starting, we were prepping for Northeast Service Center build as well, and I think all that kind of came together at the same time.
Thank
So,
you.
I'm really glad to hear that the people who will be living and using these facilities are involved in the conversations about what to do.
Yeah, we've learned through experience. I want to go into something that I helped design. I don't want to show up to something I just have to work in, so.
We've gotten some great advice. You want to get their fingerprints on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they'll think of things that
well, they live the
others
moment
do
every
not.
day, and even with, now that we've used the Northeast Service Center for a while, the group has actually said, well, we can shrink here. Or we need more of this, but even for parking, they've said, well, you can shrink down, just use the front half if you ever had to. So it's really interesting to see as we find to exercise them a little bit, even our own people have been able to help us with that.
Good.
So we've kind of utilized the crew that's already got a new building to help us size some of this stuff too.
Hmm.
Okay,
Other question? Oh, Commissioner Green?
yeah,
Just a comment. This might even improve the morale of the employees.
oh yeah,
Be able to work on a vehicle inside as opposed to fighting the elements.
yeah, we're
I
we're
think it's
lucky to
wonderful.
have good equipment, and now it'll be nice to have buildings that kind of can house all that equipment. It'll take a little bit of time. Some people may retire before they get to see all of it. We've kind of teased some of the employees, we tease them, that, oh, you're gonna retire before you see this, but they're still giving us input and involved, and so they're trying to make us move into the future too. But certainly morale wise, yeah, it's nice to come into something that's a little easier to drive in and drive out and not be worried about hitting your neighbor truck when you're just trying to move around, so.
Well, and in particular, the shop, and just making sure we could have updated modern facilities with good ventilation, because they're working in it in the winter and the
Yeah.
summer months
Just
where
no AC.
it's really hot and the doors will be open. And so there are definitely some enhancements that could be with a new facility.
They're very good at what they do. We need to catch up to their skill. And
Yep.
so in time, we'll get a building built to fit their skill.
Just want to emphasize, we're not building Taj Mahals.
No,
Oh.
We may start with a concept that's got every bell and whistle on it,
It's
but then we have a price tag that we have to.
Yes, we have to manage. And if that means we build in for future expansion.
Right.
That's another strategy. We haven't talked, but we have a signal crew that has a very crude facility in our green barn, and we have a sign shop crew that's kind of using storage space. That's
Yeah.
for their facility to erect, to make all of our signs. So those are elements of the garage as well that we're looking at and going, we need modern facilities for that as well. So to your point, put it all on paper, see what the cost is, and then, all right, could we do a future expansion? Take a big bite of the apple, but not quite all of it.
yeah,
Agreed.
good logical decisions.
Give Julie a little more space, would you?
Yeah, we'll give her another 10 or 12 square feet. I mean, right now we barely have 2 doors, so we're working on that. But yeah, we have future, because we'll essentially vacate with some of the crews some space. And so then you get into a point, okay, do you reman a space that's already there, retool it?
Right.
And then you have maybe shop space, and so it all kind of finds its way, but that'll come maybe as we get towards the end of seeing like how feasible is a big building, a huge building. And then that's gonna probably help set us up to, do we have to refurbish this part or rebuild the shop for the signs and signals group, you know? Give us some option to work through, but.
Yep.
In all honesty, that's probably the easier part than, you know, the heavy lift to figure out, you know, funding and where you're gonna develop a large scale parking facility.
Sounds like you're going to have fun, Dennis.
Looking forward. Yeah.
We hope to report back first quarter next year.
Great, okay.
That we should be wrapping up the feasibility study and presenting at a working session.
Okay.
Okay?
So
Any
that-
other comments or questions? I'm not doing a very good job with my peripheral vision here this evening, it seems, so,
That's all right. We're here. We're helping.
Doing good?
okay.
The next topic we had was our unsolicited offers, and thank you, Chris. He put up for us the WCRC property map. So this is our entire county. Each star represents a piece of property that we own. So we recently received an unsolicited offer for the Ott property, which is ultimately on. Thank you for zooming in,
Yep.
Linden Township. It is a property off of North Territorial Road, just east of the Linden Township Hall. So that is the unsolicited offer. It's a generic letter that comes in where they say we're gonna offer you $500,000 for this property. Sign here or contact us and we'll work out a purchase agreement. And ultimately, I think our thoughts are to reject those type of solicitations. And if we were interested in property disposal, we would do a similar exercise of what we did for the M52 properties that we just entered into a purchase agreement. That's kind of where we're at. It seems like that has picked up of late.
Yeah, just even in the last few weeks.
Gotten a couple.
Yeah,
And
just,
ultimately, our right-of-way manager, who does a lot of real estate inquiries, Kurt Brochet, will respond to them and essentially say, not interested, thank you for your interest, but if we were, we'd let you know with much like what we did with the M52 posting of
Right.
a property for sale.
transparency and-
Yeah,
yeah.
for transparency. That's a big part of it in my mind. So that some of these are old gravel pits. So you'll see the reference Ott pit or Cave pit. So there was a time where we were using bank run material
Mhm.
and processing it for the roads in the district. That is no longer the case, hasn't been for 50+ years.
Yeah, and we've honestly, to our extent, back when they were actually borrowing from these pits, we've exhausted the material essentially in these areas. So now we use them for stockpiling material, staging, training opportunities. You know, we kind of use them for we still refer to them as a pit, but a lot of it is just staging our equipment, staging material for the seal coat program. So we really, you know, we utilize them and really benefit from them, you know, in a different way now, without any more impact to the local surroundings, because most of them are essentially in the northern part of the county. So the northwest, the McCabe pit and Otto pit, are really, they're basically like carved out hills, that are surrounded by trees and forests now. And so you're able to mind your own business while you're in there, and we don't really affect anybody with the noise or loading equipment and material out. And then as you get to the southwest part of the county, those are a little bit more open, a little more traditional to the properties and the land in that area. Where parts of rolling hills where they used to borrow material from. And so now they have a little bit more space, still tree covered, but essentially fields. In some cases there, that Dennis's group really just maintains the gates and we maintain the driveways with our team. And then in and out for material as we need. The Bolter pit on Austin Road, so that's the bottom left of your screen. That's very important to us. We utilize that quite frequently off of Austin Road to stockpile a lot of material for when we seal coat the southwest portion of the county. So like I say, we get plenty of use out of these pits, but at this point, you know, we don't plan on mining anything out of them because the materials there might not even be suitable to today's standard. And I think that's also, this is speculation, but a lot of the reason why we moved away from that previously, because the material is, it is just bank run at best.
Very
like
sandy and,
one step above sand.
yeah, so
So it doesn't bind together very well.
it doesn't adhere well, when, larger volumes of traffic are, particularly in our
Present,
urban
yeah.
areas. Just doesn't work well, and that's why we generally use limestone in
Mhm.
our urban areas where the volumes are a little higher. And if we were to think about, selling property, I think, one of the things that, as we go through this feasibility study, start to understand what the true costs of these facilities that we're looking to build at both the main yard and Manchester. If there were excess property and there was interest, we may want to look at, certain strategic ones that, may be, considered for disposal and sale, and then take some of that revenue and put it towards some of our facilities. So that's something that I think, once we get through the feasibility study, we could do an evaluation. I know there's been interest, much like the Ott pit. There's also been interest in the Gale pit in Superior Township, in the past. So I think that's worth considering, once we understand what are those costs that we're, having to, deal with, when we're looking at building these new facilities.
Questions, comments?
So,
Commissioner McCollum?
yeah, so my understanding, is it odd pit or auto?
It's
pit?
auto pit, yeah.
Auto pit is that being used like the other pits for storage and things like that?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
so,
So that one we'll do a little bit of equipment training there because the drive is a little bit longer.
Hmm.
So the District 3 group and sometimes District 4, but primarily the District 3 group, and even back to when I was a superintendent, with the previous foreman District 3, we would take people there to kind of train our boom mowers and with our graders. Because there really was nothing to damage there whatsoever, and it was a nice flat space, so we could really put a lot of work in the ground and we wouldn't affect anything, wouldn't cause any wet spots or anything like that. So, yeah, still very much active.
Okay.
Matter of fact, last year, we utilized some of the millings that we were able to gain from, one of the, it might have been one of the township millage projects, but, anyway, so we kind of rebuilt the driveway a little bit there and make it a little more stable. And so we can get more trucking in and out of there, make it a little bit more four-season as opposed to just summertime, because previously it was all sandy. So we would essentially close the pit in the winter and be done. Not much need for it in the winter, but sometimes nice to go there to take, forestry, chippings, and if we had an ice storm or something, we could drag the tree brush and things like that up there.
And we do have, obviously a lot of acreage here in the main yard, centrally located in the county. If we were to dispose of, any of the pits, it would just require a little more drive time, for, if we're doing material storage or, doing training, for the crews. So, that's just something to consider when we're looking at, and evaluating these properties at the end of our feasibility study.
so you're just letting us know that someone made an offer.
Yes, unsolicited, and we're just going to reject that
Yeah,
and say, we'll keep you on a list if we do consider selling at some point in the future.
right.
Because it generated out of state, not anybody like we've ever had contact with, or
That-
anything that Kurt's ever.
They've never picked up a phone.
Right, yeah, Kurt's never got a phone call from him or anything. And
Okay,
But yeah, Matt makes a good point, like operational need is important, and so that's where we kind of rely on the superintendents and the foreman for that. And conversations with the Sharon Pit, Ken Harris and myself had many years over that, do we need anything there? Are we good there? And you get to a point where, no, we're good because we have Bolter, or we can go to Otto, or, different options like that, where that's part of the conversation where we let the people that are using these
Right.
as storage to,
Okay.
can we do it with or without? And that's why Gale Pit always comes up, we use it sometimes we don't, so there's some opportunity there sometimes, but, that's all future will kind of dictate that.
Yeah, for example, in District 6, that's the northeast part of the county, Northfield, Salem, and Superior. We have the Gale Pit in Superior, which is close to the urbanized area, but we also have just a short drive to the north, the old, Yard 6 facility, in Salem Township. So
Mhm.
it's a smaller site, but that's another one we have for, material storage.
Yep, and we actually are currently benefiting from the landfill that needs good reclamation and remediation soils. So we've been actively hauling our ditch spoils out of there. We have an excavator on rent because we're prepping to do some of the culvert work this fall. So the heavy equipment crew, state trunk line crew, District 6, we've had quite a few trucks running, trying to cut down that hill, so to speak. So we're loading out all the material we've stacked in there for years and years. So now we'll get to a point where we're having more flat space, whether it be ditch spoils or more material, because in the front of that Pontiac Trail Yard, which used to be the District 6 building years ago, that was the building until they went to the Southeast Service Center. So early 2000s when that changed. But anyway, so we can store aggregate material in the front part of the property, and in the back, we can store ditch spoils, which we generate an immense amount of ditching spoils. I don't even have an idea how many thousands of tons, tens of thousands of tons we generate a year. Just because you gotta think we do drainage on almost every project. So truckload after truckload, so
Has to go somewhere.
it certainly goes somewhere. So we're thankful to have big places that need filling.
Other questions or comments?
Just,
Agreed.
so we're not interested in selling this property because of its location and usefulness and.
I would think auto specifically, yes, right now, and also just with the genesis of an unsolicited offer, we're out of state, never talked to us before, we've never had any contact. Yeah, we know there's no utilities in the area, so there's nothing that really like would be appealing. And so for us to not really even get a phone call and someone just kind of generate this offer, it almost makes it feel computer generated. And so it's just not practical for us to even consider that. Yeah.
So you and Matt screen these along with Kurt.
Our whole
Is
team.
this something we
Yeah.
want to consider or not? Came out of nowhere. Oh, that's great. Or, no, we're not interested.
And then inevitably Matt updates the board.
Right.
But yeah, our whole team, Aaron and Brent, myself, Kurt, Ken and Jared, because like I say, that operational need is probably like the number one trigger point. Like, can we live or live without? And then inevitably, Matt makes final decision and gets to update the board. So just to keep everybody kind of in the loop with that.
Anything else? No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we do have a break scheduled if you want 5-10 minutes, and if not, we can continue into equipment.
Let's take a
Entirely-
quick break.
Okay.
I think people would probably benefit from that. Be back here just as soon as you can. As soon as everybody's back, we'll reconvene. It's about 9:45, so be back here by 5 to 10. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for coming back promptly. We will continue with the working session agenda. The topic du jour at the moment is equipment update. Matt, anything you want to add?
Oh, get right to it with Adam.
All right.
Mr. Lake, one more time.
Okay, so just for record's sake, Adam Lake, Director of Operations here. We're gonna touch on the equipment here a little bit today. Get a little equipment update. We'll go through our agenda. General overview as we cover every year, but really overview the fleet, some of kind of our newer goals and things we want to do. Roadside mowing equipment would be one of those newer goals that we've been talking about here a little bit. The 2026 vision for our capital and equipment purchases, and then question and answer. But as always, we'll probably have a dialogue as we go through.
Okay.
So first and probably most important when it's not snowing, would be our 11 motor graders, which we're working really hard to save and save and save and get ourselves to 12 graders. But right now we have 11 moving, and we're hopeful by next year with some of the sell back and benefits from auctions that we may be able to finally get ourselves to number 12. So we maintain that fleet of 11. It's still one of our most important pieces of equipment, as you all know. Our average age and hours are improving. So we always set our goal. We're trying to 10,000, 8,000 hours, 10 years or less service for most of our pieces of
How
equipment.
many years?
10 years, 8 to 10 years, you're trying to have a piece of equipment. We are now with these, we're around a 5-year average. So, I mean, we're in a very good place. The reason they're 5-year average is because we use them so frequently that we're up against that 10,000 hour limit to get a good sell back or a buyback, we refer to it as, with the manufacturer. So we have to turn these things over quite frequently, which is fine. That keeps us in newer equipment. And-
Adam, could you describe the Michigan Cat buyback program?
Yeah, so in early 2000s, I believe is when it started. maybe mid 2000s, Michigan Caterpillar started offering agencies an opportunity to buy back their equipment. So you would buy a grader for, let's say, $100,000. Obviously, it's more than that, but just number's sake. You buy a grader for $100,000, and they would offer you a guaranteed buyback at 5 years or less and 10 years or less. So you had two options. Our agency, the way things were set up at the time, Jim Harmon could only afford in the program to do 10 years or less.
Yep.
And so we got our first 2000 and I believe 12 or 13 grader that Ryan and Lewis, which is a group leader in heavy equipment now, operated in District 3 out of Chelsea. We got that and we ran through those 10,000 hours very quickly in grader 463 and on we went. So what that buyback is just a guaranteed purchase price that they'll buy it back from you. Now they don't market it as a buyback. We just basically trade it into them, but they still offer us somewhere upwards of $100,000 for some of these graders if we can keep our hours low. And I mean by hours low as in below the 8,000 hour mark, which is hard to do for us. We're usually between 9,000 and 10,000 hours when we trade ours back in. But what it does, it's basically a discount on the first, or excuse me, on the one that we're buying. So,
Got it.
so we have one today, and let's say it reaches 9,500 hours. And then we got one on order. So whatever money they would offer us for that grader that we currently have would just come off the price of the one that we're purchasing. And that's on order. So with that being said, the graders aren't getting any cheaper. They're pushing $450,000 for a grader. So anything we can do to help us into the next one, to roll that over into the next purchase is critical for us. So what we do is make sure there are decent tires on it. And that's why keeping it a short time keeps it in good working order. So we don't have to sacrifice that buyback price where they have to pay to Michigan Caterpillar, that is, has to pay for the tires or to rework some of the cylinders or some parts of like the bearings, certain moving parts that are wear parts. That is very expensive to replace that stuff. So we try to get ours to a point where they're ready to go back before that all starts failing. Because if you remember a few years back, we had a John Deere grader, that we actually had to sell mid-span. We didn't even get to exhaust its whole life because the motor just got to a point where it was reaching failure. And at $10,000-$15,000 every time we had to repair it. And it got to the point that we just had to sell it. And that grader had just over 10,000 hours on it. Different manufacturer, but still, nonetheless, John Deere makes a reputable piece of equipment as well. But you don't want to stretch them any longer than you have to, because we use them a lot. And it's a lot of force that goes through that unit when we're trying to break the stones and grade the roads. There's a lot of vibration that goes through the unit, which it's made to do, but it certainly wears on. Metal can only take so much before it fatigues.
So Adam, how many miles of gravel road do we have?
What is it? 658, I think, 55, something like
So you
that.
think about that,
Times two, right? If you're going up.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Coming back.
how fast do they go when they're grading?
So when we're on a limestone road, you're gonna get 5 to 6 mile an hour, 8 mile an hour, maybe.
Start doing the
Well,
math in the
We're busy.
springtime, when we have to come out of that spring thaw and it's drying out and we have to grade every gravel road in the county. You start doing the math of 12 graders that go
Basically
5 to 10 miles an hour, and we have to cover 600, almost 700 miles of gravel road. 12 graders doesn't seem quite hardly enough, right? When you start doing that, but it's that peak period. So we can rent in
Yep.
those periods when we need them. But it's something that why we want to get to 12. That's the goal, is to get to 12, so that in those peak periods, when we need to grade and shape and coming out of that springtime, because Shelby and others can attest with those phone lines and WCR fix-it requests come in, and we have to explain to folks, we only have 11 graders. We have to grade 700 miles of road, and it takes time. So that's one of the reasons why this is such
Yep.
a vital piece of equipment, not only all year round, but particularly in that springtime.
Yeah, to really get back and we talk to a lot about, we balance that effort, because we don't want to be out on the roads when they're still soft and a little bit unstable, because you don't want to pull up the moisture from below. So we kind of balance that out. But yeah, the most important thing. Once it stops snowing, like, that is what makes our reputation. Because that's the only way that we truly can shape a road. And these soft surface roads have to be shaped, effectively.
Did you have a question, Commissioner?
Yes,
Use
so,
this hand so I can see it.
oh,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
picture.
Okay, I was using this hand to turn my volume down. So, Adam, when we trade one in, it costs more for the new one.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking that's because, well, things go up, but isn't that a better made equipment?
Yeah, in theory, newer is always better, you know.
Did they
sometimes there's some-
advance it though? Did they?
Yeah, so they'll make advancements just through design, ergonomics in the cab. Michigan Caterpillar or Caterpillar in general. Pretty much a good design cab now, an operator system, but they'll make improvements, whether it be different emissions improvements that are required by the government, the federal government requirements for the motors, things like that. But yeah, there's always some little intricacy that they come up with that helps us get better. But the main thing is having a new, fresh piece of equipment. Thousands of hours, just really, really work on that unit, because the powertrain for a grader is essentially under strain the whole time,
Mhm.
because it's either pushing or pulling that material. It's pushing all the time. It's pushing the unit, the grader itself. So there's just so much pressure, and then they're designed for that. But like I say, you know, metal does fatigue at some point, and
Right.
parts only last so long.
Right, and I think a good example of your personal car, you can buy a new one and you can drive it 150,000 miles, but as you approach 200, there's a high degree of risk of you're gonna start paying more for big items. And when those big items fail, you don't have that to use anymore. We
Right.
don't have a rental car.
Yeah.
We do, but it does cost
But not,
That-
yeah.
quite a bit.
And-
So the idea is use them to that 10,000 hour mark
I see.
And
and
that's someone
then-
else used.
and then sell it at it where it's still got good value. But then we can go ahead and get a new piece of equipment that's gonna be very reliable, rather than trying to nurse it along
Right.
and then keep having to pay the cost of maintenance or major items.
Yeah, if we were, you know, constantly grading maybe sand or just leveling dirt, it'd be a little bit different, but the way that we have to physically, you know, scrape the road, to draw that material up so we can essentially reshape it, that's just what puts a strain on them.
Adam, we had some intense rain events this year that I don't remember them being common in the past.
They were pretty intense.
So that creates, in addition to the spring thaw, we have these unanticipated deluges.
Kind of like a reset in some segments that we have to do, and
To get to them quickly, we only have so much equipment. We can only get so
Yeah.
far, so fast.
yeah, we can.
So adding that next grader would be a.
It's critical. Yeah, I think with the level of service that we offer, and even aside from the grading the roads, the winter time, if to have that 12th grader would be enormous, because we have more people available in the winter, so to speak, than we do in the summer, because the summer we all have our projects and things to do and different projects. We're helping this and that. In the wintertime, it's just snow and ice. Like, that's what we're here for that week when it's snowing. We have enough people that are good operators that if we had another piece of equipment, another grader, we could put another experienced operator out there to go break the ice. We call it crack the ice, but where we try to really expand, like we've talked before, in snow and ice kind of coverage, we try to crack the ice off the center of the road to expose some aggregate, which gives traffic something to drive on, like a little bit of traction, as opposed to hard packed ice. Because obviously we know we don't want to use the salt on those roads, because that'll make springtime come a little too early, and we don't. But yeah, they're very important to us. It's like I say, it's our most important thing. So we keep building that system, and even back to the point, we grade the roads. To grade the roads, you know, you have the 600 and some miles, but to grade a road, you have to go up and down it 3 or 4 times. It's not just down and back. So your math just exponentially increases as you start really putting hours to the miles to the work that we have to do with only so many bodies. It's and only 11 graders, a bit challenging, but we're getting through it. We have a good group, but our level of service just keeps increasing. So I think we need to match that as we go forward. Like I say, you know, dream a little bit and be strategic in how we do things, and we'll get to that point. And we'll keep it moving with the graders.
And you've indicated that when one district needs a little more help, you've
Yeah.
got this reciprocity going on that others
Yeah.
will
Yeah,
come
so
help
we
if
actually,
they can.
yeah, we're in a good place because District Two doesn't have many, they have less than 30 miles of unpaved roads, Pittsfield and Ypsilanti townships. A little more urbanized, so a lot more pavement. So that helps us. So when we use, that grader and an operator, we can take to District 5.
Yep.
Or we can go up to District 6. So we can kind of bounce things around. And then if we get to a point of 12 graders, and now we have a whole nother set with one other grader where we've kind of strategized where what we might do is have one grader assigned to fill in for the dust control as a township group is doing a project, because then if you do that, you now have 2 graders do dust control all the time throughout the county, which would be, I mean, it's exponential. It's probably another 100 miles, maybe every 2 weeks or so, maybe a little bit more, depending on what type of material we're grading. So that's incredible. That could save us a week or 2 at the end of the year, which is great. Because as you know, we kind of run right up against,
Yeah.
the seasonal limitations. So, yeah, very important to us.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Green?
And so there's no more guaranteed buyback, but there is an approximate amount that we can expect when we trade the truck back in.
Yeah, so what they'll do is they come do an estimate, just like you're gonna sell a house, like they'll send an appraiser out
Hmm.
and they'll quote us. It could be, sometimes we'll get 50, 80,000, sometimes we'll get 120,000. Really depends on the hours, and then has it had any, big issues while we were operating it, not caused by us, just general mechanical issues, because we stay 100% plugged in with Caterpillar the whole time, the whole life of the equipment that we own with them.
Alright.
Michigan Caterpillar can see the daily usage, the fuel use, the tire use. They have a system essentially like AVL. They can pull up on the computer and see where all our equipment is and what it's doing to try to diagnose things and keep that good tracking, which is great, because then they can come give one appraisal. There's no bartering. It's, here's what we can get for this, because if we don't like that appraisal, we always have the option to auction.
Okay.
So we did that with the John Deere grader. We knew we weren't going to get anything from Michigan Caterpillar because it was essentially exhausted. So we put it up for auction. And I think we got another $10,000 or $20,000 more.
Commissioner Yamas, so I know I was listening to you, so it's 10,000 miles or 10,000 hours?
10,000 hours for equipment. So for a grader.
Right.
So, and then 10 years,
And 10 years, so there's not a mileage thing, it's always just about hours.
physical hours. Yeah. Operating hours.
On equipment.
On equipment. And then you'll get to, our light fleet, which we'll touch on here quickly, where then you're talking miles.
Okay,
Kind of just the way that they use a chronological way of tracking those pieces of equipment.
so at this time, we have that in the 10-year, right? We have not approved something different.
No, yeah, we're as status quo. Really
Okay.
just an update on the system, and what I really just, the biggest highlight is the fact that we've got the average age down, below 6 years to 5 years, which is huge. And it's been, the whole time I've been here, this has been a mission. So yeah, for 12 years at least, I know we've been doing this, and that's why kind of my biggest recommendation for 26 is really just to keep doing what we're doing now.
Okay,
Commissioner?
I was just gonna add, Mike Livesey, our shop foreman or supervisor and Adam, they're responsible for tracking all those. And those are goals. And then eventually, we come with a request to purchase. So when we are assembling a budget, which we'll get to at the end of this, for next year, that reflects, all right, what are the needs based on our goals, on either the hours or years.
Yeah, depending on, what the need is or what piece of equipment it is, if it's
Yep.
light fleet, heavy fleet, or a piece of an actual heavy equipment. The kind of words all start running together, but you have like heavy trucks are like the dump trucks, the light fleet are like a pickup truck or an SUV, and then the heavy equipment is, a grader, a loader, a backhoe, things like that.
Commissioner Green?
Yes, and so miles are verified by the odometer. How are hours verified?
So they have basically a chronometer in them. So instead of
really?
a mileage odometer, it just counts the hours that the unit is functioning.
Okay.
And the reason
that's-
for
that's
that is
interesting.
because equipment will run for years and years and years and years, but it may only go 1 mile or so.
Right.
And for like an excavator, they don't physically really move down the road, so to speak. They're just digging the whole time. And so a grader, you could say mileage, but it doesn't attribute to actually like the work time. So that's why equipment goes back to hours, because that's physical time the whole unit's running and operating.
Right.
We good? Good.
All right.
Okay. Page 2.
Yes, yes. No, and it's painless, I promise. So heavy
It's not
trucks.
You, this is great
Yeah,
conversation.
And
Adam.
so then our heavy trucks, we have 52 of those in the fleet right now. We do have a few more that are considered brine trucks. Very simplistic. We basically retool an older piece of equipment to spread brine for us with a tank in the back. But this is our main fleet. These are the ones that are moving the sand, the salt, the dirt, when we're ditching in the summer. And then, of course, as you can see, they're plowing the snow. So on that picture, we've come a long way. So on the left side of your screen, that's an early 2000s International truck. Probably a 2002-ish, maybe 2003-ish truck. And then you come to the right side of the screen, and that's our newer International trucks. Actually, they're newest trucks right now as we're waiting on the Western Stars to get built. So a lot has changed. They're still orange. They still say International, but we have quite a few more things hanging off the sides of them and underneath them, and different types of beds and salter units we use. But we're accomplishing what our goal was years ago, and we're maintaining. I think the average on these is less than 7 years. When you pull in the 5 new trucks that are getting built, 2 of them are getting built right now at Truck and Trailer from last year's purchase, as we always carry over, because trying to get the materials, the physical materials, so the beds, so the stuff on the back of the truck takes longer to be built than the trucks themselves do. They don't have a large scale manufacturing plant. They just have a smaller plant that builds the bed sides and things like that. So when you add in these new 5 Western Stars, plus the 5 Western Stars that should come this year, our average age should get down, probably 5 years at this point. And our average mileage is still up there a little bit. It's about 50,000 miles on average to start this winter, which is still really good. Most of our trucks now have less than 100,000 miles on them in general. So that's great. We have a few high mileage trucks, and that's okay. We know that. Those are kind of starting to find their way to be in our spares, which is fine. They can have 100 and some thousand miles on them to be our spare trucks, because they're just waiting in case something goes down to kind of limp us through till we get the newer stuff repaired.
And Adam, how many winter routes do we have?
Winter routes?
Yeah.
Right now, we're gonna have 46. Our goal is to get to 48 or 50 in the next, 4, 5, 6 years. It's gonna take a little bit of time, because through attrition in general, we're always hiring somebody, somebody's retired, we're constantly going through that. And so as we build the fleet, as you see that number, so I think my first presentation I did, we had 46 or 48, I think, and now we're at 52, and we'll get ourselves to like 55, where they're sustainable, like can have a route winter trucks. And what I mean by that is a truck capable of going out and having a winter route.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we really count, because those are the ones that matter the most to us, and how many bodies can we put in the seats to get us out on the snow and ice. So with our spares right now, we can run 48. We'll have 4 or 5 trucks per spare. But our goal, would be get ourselves ideally perfect world, probably 50 routes. But that's going to take a little bit of time to build too. So we're trying to get to the point, add a route a year, break routes up, makes us more efficient. And so some of the technology that we have now will help us do that this year. We've already made a few changes last year. This year we'll make a few small changes with some of the interstate and district routing, just to try to get them closer to where they're working, and closer to the area. And then probably in a few years, we'll be able to really exercise kind of our dream of making some hybrid routes where we can kind of split routes in half. You'll cut your route time down to 2.5, 3 hours, where some routes take 4 or 5. And that's just too long for us to be at the level I want us to be at. And that's not our employees or management's issue or anything. That's just simply, we don't have enough physical capability right now with equipment. We need to get to a point where our fleet's good enough to where we can sustain that, because we have the bodies that are capable. We just need to make sure we have the units that are capable to actually plow the snow.
Commissioner McCollum.
Yeah, the newest, what's that, you called it 5 Western?
Oh, sorry. So that's an international truck right there.
Oh, that's the international, the
Yeah.
yellow one?
Yeah,
Most recent purchase was Western Stars.
correct.
Oh, I
We're going
see.
back, yeah, as we kind of noted when we ran into that delay with those 11 internationals that we now thankfully have and they're moving, the 8 of them that showed up. We changed from West International back to Western Star, which seems to be most of our preference at this point, and so we're hoping to stay that way. The units seem to be functioning the best, so we're excited to get the new ones on the road and test them out because it's an actually new generation of that truck. So we're excited to see it. It should be pretty good. But still kind of fingers crossed on that yet because we haven't actually got the plow snow with them yet. So we're hustling to get them there, but they'll be pretty good. But yeah, so that's international in the photo. And then maybe I'll come back in midwinter when we get these trucks out after dry run and we'll show you some pictures of the new Western
Okay.
Stars.
So this, and maybe because they're not side by side, but the international looks like it can do more things
Oh, yeah.
than the early 2001.
Yep, yeah, so same cabin chassis, so to speak, just different generations. But yeah, so the one on the left, that was when we had just traditional dump trucks, just a steel dump body that spread salt just out of the back, out of one spinner.
We had to raise the bed up.
Yeah, you had to raise the bed, which is, I almost had a coronary the first time I ever was doing snow and ice here in our county. I'm like, what do you do? Put the bed down, put the bed, but that's the only way that we had that. And so now, the more modernistic way is these RDS, which is radial discharge system. What that does is funnel the load down to basically a chain driven conveyor that pulls the material either to the back of the truck where there's a bigger spinner to a paddle wheel spinner to throw the salt, or conveys it to the front. And I can zoom in here a little bit and show you. There's a little piece of metal, there's stainless steel there. And if I use my pointer, it's going to zoom back out. Let me do
The
that.
yellow.
So right here,
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah.
Spinner.
like it's.
So in this area, yeah. So now we have the trucks have 2 of those.
Ah.
So we can go left or right side. So I'll kind of circle a little bit for you
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Where you can go left or right side now. So now we can salt on 3 sides of the truck, basically. 2 wings, 1 on each side. You have the underbody, then our front plows now turn. We still have the traditional country plows that are the wing plow like that in the front to throw it up and off for
Okay.
drifting and things. So we have multiple options on the front of the trucks now because every plow we own theoretically fits every truck we have.
That's good.
And then we have the power angle plows. That means they turn in the front. So yeah, we've come a very, very long way. And the cabs are warm. They actually defrost a little bit. Having operated one on the left side of the screen and operated one on the right side of the screen, there's a big difference that I've experienced in my career. And, we're all lucky to have that. And onboard liquid is another thing we have. So we have
Yeah.
quite the winter package for our trucks. And it's hard because in the summertime, they're not as effective as we want them to be, but we have to buy them to make us really effective in the winter. And then we just make do with them to haul the dirt. Because in theory, in the summer, you'd like it to be a traditional bed because you can put more stuff in it. But that's only for like 3-4 months out of the year. The rest of the time, we're focused on making sure the roads are good
Yeah.
for snow and ice. So you have to kind of balance out. But we've got some ideas. I think maybe in the next couple of years, we'll probably buy 4 trucks with that RDS system, the stainless steel body you see on the right, and then 1 traditional dump truck with a chain in the bed, where then we can use that in the summers and send it to outside yards. And then you can put the brine tanks on the inside and you make a funnel, a V box to basically get the salt directed down to the actual chain drive.
Kudos to the staff that drives these, because when we had a chance to look at them in the yard, oh my gosh, inside all of the knobs and
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
buttons and
It becomes muscle memory, but we do have a very good group.
wow.
They're really good. And you got to remember, we get about 16 hours a day to practice. So so kind of catch up. It becomes muscle memory at some point, but
Kudos.
they
to
are
them.
really skilled. Yeah, they are very skilled. We appreciate that.
Sorry. Commissioner Green.
Yes, with our new anticipated garage,
Mhm.
which vehicles gain the highest priority being stored?
It would be the heavy trucks, these dump trucks.
Okay.
And then second would be the graders.
How about the graders?
Those would be second priority.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay.
The grader's actually really nimble and they're actually kind of narrow in relative to a heavy truck with all the wing plows and everything on them. So you can really put a lot of graders in one spot.
Okay.
Where the trucks just need more space because they don't turn as sharp. A grader will articulate, so you can really
Oh, I see.
you know, basically snake it in somewhere if you need to. But a lot of times what we do now is we'll park all our trucks in the bays, the parking spots, and then we'll line up the graders inside. So God forbid you want to get out of there fast, but we have a method to our madness to keep everything in and under cover in the winter time. Not ideal parking scenario, but it works for now.
And I think it's good to note, on these heavy trucks, you can see all the different things that are on it.
Hmm.
One of the challenges, I think, for our crews especially, is keeping it clean.
Yeah,
And it's very difficult with just a garden
that's a
hose
good point, Matt. Yeah.
to hose it off. So one of our big asks for the main yard is for a truck wash. So that we can, get that mechanically, washed off in a
Yeah, and
big way. It
And-
made a huge improvement, and that also helps extend the life of the equipment as well, to get that salt off all the underbody and all the hydraulics, to get that all washed off at the end of shift, is huge. It also helps our shop with maintenance, so.
yeah, actually being able to see the parts
Yep.
is important.
And we've got some truck washes at Northeast Service Center, Southeast Service Center.
Yeah, some better
Um,
capabilities there.
Better capabilities, but even in our main yard where the most of our heavy truck fleet is, we don't have very good ways to do a
Gar-
truck
it's
wash.
Essentially garden hoses. And so we're spending almost $400,000 for one of these. We, you know, need to get to a point where we can get them cleaned better. And we have some contract washing things we can do, but you kind of need to be able to do it yourself. And we can't take 20 trucks from here and send them to the other yards because those guys are trying to wash too. And so we've tried to do it at nighttime where we take the state trunk line trucks because we have a night patrol up to Northeast Service Center to try to help ourselves out a little bit. But that's only getting 7 trucks and you still have probably 13 other ones that you got to wash during the day. So it gets busy, but yeah, coming all the way back even to the feasibility study, worst case, absolute worst case scenario, we have to have a truck wash at least, at some point, at the facility just to help us.
As you can imagine, it's already a tight fit in the current garage. And then you have all the debris from washing your truck, and then you've got to clean grates. And
Yeah.
so having a truck wash, really will help take that function out of the current garage.
Yeah, because it becomes a nightmare for Dennis Bussey and his team of 3. We have booster pumps on our water lines. We're drawing as much water as we can pull out of the ground, so to speak, or pull out of the system. And you have 25 garden hoses going, you know, by the time the end, you're splashing water on it if you're the guy at the far end of the building. So we have to strategize. So it's part of the build, part of the process, but we'll get there. It's certainly important to us to keep them clean because they won't look that shiny if it wasn't for effort by the group.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Considering the
big effort.
scenarios we have now, like our trucks are pretty clean for what we give them to wash with. So,
Imagine the staff time that would be saved if this was
oh,
automated.
There you go.
probably cumulative thousands of hours
Yeah.
worth of time because you add up each person's,
Standing there
7
with a
hours.
garden hose to reach.
yeah.
Yeah. Russia.
Every just cranny.
Winter trying to get
It's
them.
a lot.
And it's hard too, because you know, we ask them to do a lot for us in
Right.
16 hours and then, okay, now for 8 hours, you're gonna stand with concrete and try to wash this thing. So, you know, we try to balance that and, we gotta make improvements, you know, we just gotta make good decisions to make those.
Tell them we're trying to get there.
No, they know, and it's been the 12 years I've been here trying to improve ways of doing it. Baby steps, we're getting there, But nonetheless, the fleet is good. Still hope to continue in 2026 as we do with 5 truck purchases. So we'll come to the board for approval for that and we'll cover that here in a spreadsheet here just in a few minutes. But, I'm gonna touch on the light fleet a little bit, here as we move on. So we in theory have 64 light fleet units. That's all encompassing. That's SUV type vehicles that we've been purchasing here as opposed to sedans over the past few years. This is a foreman truck, the superintendent's trucks, engineering staff will use, you know, a truck like this. So this is basically what's moving us throughout the county now. We've made tremendous improvements in the 12 years I've been here, not because of me, just in general, the 12 years improvement. Because we used to struggle having pickups to get ourselves out to the job and we would have to drive a dump truck to go flag traffic or to just go pick up a tree branch or just, you know, wasted time and energy and expense. And we've been able to get a really robust system thanks to board support and just staff trying to take care of what we do have and stretch these vehicles out. So we are improving. This would be back to the miles and hours. This would be 100,000 miles or 10 years.
Right.
So this is a little more traditional, what we were talking about, Rod. So that's how we gauge those units. Right now, I think our average age, and then I do have a really good piece of note information you guys will get a kick out of, but we're about 84,000 miles average for the units right now. Primarily is we have in operation some of our kind of work fleet, the stuff that's like last step of the line. before it
Handed
gets out.
down.
Yeah, probably been handed down to 5 employees and now it's out on a crew. Just we're putting it through the last bit of its paces before we auction off whatever's left of it. So those trucks will have 200,000 miles on them. Some of our state trunk line trucks, just the mileage goes through the roof. We start with the foreman, then it goes to the group leader and the crew and kind of down the line from there, inevitably maybe even to a summer help, an intern. So we kind of keep our mileage high on those, but all in all, our primary portion of the fleet is really good. We do have 64 units. That'll be AVL, tracked by the end of the year. So that's our main part of the fleet. We do have some odds and ends, other trucks that we'll use. If, for example, if a foreman truck breaks down, we have a couple auxiliary trucks that they can take that's already prepared kind of to house a foreman. A little more important than just a regular pickup. So we kind of balance that need as we go. But I was messing with the numbers last Friday just to kind of have just general concept of an understanding of kind of where we're at. And I was adding up some of the mileage, and I think the fleet, if my math was correct, we're at 5.3 million miles, I think, in our fleet.
Whoa.
And so it's really interesting to see it.
Divided by 64.
Yeah, I know. And like it should come to 84,000, I think. But so it's interesting to see. I mean, we are covering this county that's basically 31 by 30 or so miles. We are covering it multiple times a year with all these pieces of equipment because we're just all over the place. It's snow and ice day. A foreman could average 300 miles in a day, just checking the routes. I mean, we're driving all over the place. Never really
Commissioner
going anywhere.
Cullum.
Yes, is this a newer vehicle?
Yeah,
that I'm
this is,
looking at?
this is,
So clean in the wheel well?
yeah, this is one of the state trunk line. This is the current state trunk line foreman's
Oh,
newest truck. And I say newest because Tim Hackbarth put so many miles on. We go through trucks with him every couple of years. So yeah, this one is one of our newest. We have a couple newer ones we got this year, but yeah, so those are new as they get.
I like this one because I like the steps on it for the trunk part.
Mhm.
A lot of the trucks have just a little thing, but this one, it seems like when you step in, it's real easy to get into the back of the truck, step up and get in the back. I also like that it has the lights at the wheel wells
Oh, the
or
little-
reflectors.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
bit of
which
reflection.
I would think would be needed for road work. And I was wondering, oh, and also, is this an 8-foot bed?
Yes, so that's.
And it has a cab, 2 doors,
Extended cab, yeah. not
the cab,
full
which they
extended
usually
cab.
don't have, do they?
Yeah, well, we've been finally getting to the point where we kind of talk a lot about buying the right thing for the job.
Right,
sort of.
right,
So yeah, we may buy less than we used to buy, but now we're buying stuff that we can.
yeah.
All the winter clothes in the back, maybe move some crew members, get your lunch in the back, because a foreman sometimes could be in a thing for 20 hours if he gets called
Yeah.
back in the night after a snow and ice event. So yeah, a lot of thought goes into these. Tim Hackbarth himself, he'll get called in for a lot of debris on the state trunk line. So that's why he always requests having the 8-foot bed, because he can still have a toolbox in it, as you see, and still have a
Yes,
good 6 or
And
6.
still have room.
Yeah.
And
And then we add quite a bit of strobe lights to it, to the sides, everything to add some
Mhm. That's good.
conspicuousy there.
And I was wondering, and because I don't know, is this gas engine? So
Yep.
those are better than trying to have like a diesel engine or something like that?
Yeah,
because
so-
that's actually better on fuel. than
Yeah,
gas
perfect
engine.
world would be diesel, but we actually had not an ideal experience. due to the idling with one of the diesels that we bought. We do have one diesel Foreman pickup right
Okay.
now. It was a bad motor from the start,
Hmm.
but still it was kind of put a little bit of a scary taste in our mouth. And right now they're probably 15,000 to 18.
They are more, yeah, they are.
So
more.
we kind of balance our needs and also where do we have fuel located? So
That's what I was wondering.
yeah, so that's why we started with the diesel and
Uh-huh.
tried that for District 4, so they could go down to just a diesel tank
Uh-huh.
at the Manchester yard. But now after kind of going through that process, we're kind of rethinking that. And I think right now we're probably gonna stay with gas. That also keeps the DEF systems on the smaller diesel motors for like pickup trucks.
Mhm.
I know probably more detailed than you wanted, but a little bit more problematic to work with because if we hit a lot of deer, we get hit by a lot of deer,
Mhm.
people bang into the side of the vehicles and then we're plowing snow with them. So those DEF tanks set like up in the fender wells sometimes.
Okay.
And if you shatter one of those, you kind of can't drive it.
Mm,
So we're finding that it's fitting us right now for gasoline.
mhm.
The 6.6 liter motors that General Motors are producing for these 2,500 trucks are really, really good and really powerful. Everybody likes them
Mhm.
for right now. So as long as they stay reliable, like I say, we're still in the testing part there because we only have probably maybe 100,000 miles on that type of motor, but been good so far. If we can keep that reliability, I think we'll probably stay with the gasoline right now. But that could change in the future. But I think with just the emission stuff is pretty expensive to repair when it breaks.
That is true.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of balance we have to
Yeah.
do with that.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah,
When we get a question, why do they get to drive a truck home? Why do they get a truck? I think it's helpful for us to understand
yeah,
that the people who have those vehicles often get called out at unusual times.
all of the times is probably the best answer. So we have staff members that do essentially sign a vehicle use agreement as we all do, but theirs is a little bit different because of their position. So a foreman, superintendent, myself, Matt, we're assigned the vehicle because if something less than ideal happens, aside from even a road emergency, you know, we probably should respond. Me sitting on like the Emergency Operations Center group, large scale events have to respond. Then down to our foreman is simple in nature, the fact that we get road defect calls. And even back to Joanne, some of the questions you had in the packet where we'll get called for water or a road defect that sometimes could be exaggerated or sometimes could be realistic. It could be a hole big enough to swallow.
But it's
a car.
outside of normal working hours.
Correct. It
is
could
my-
be 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Right.
And we need to be as efficient as we can. We don't have lights and sirens like first responders, but we need to show up within an hour or so to really at least make some evaluation and make adjustments if we can, or remove whatever object is in the road, whatever the case may be. So yeah, those groups certainly need to be essentially on the clock and ready. And so that's what helps us having that opportunity. And then now we're scattered. We have people outside the county boundaries. We have those of us in the county boundaries. So a lot of us can get a lot of different places. But the biggest thing is our experience in whatever area we're getting called for is the first person coming. That's the most important
If you
part.
don't have to come here, pick up the
Yeah.
vehicle and then
There's
head
no,
back up.
there's no call and say, hey, can you go look, what happened in this area last time you were there? It's a person with that experience going right there in the middle of the night, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, make the decision.
Yep.
Call people, don't call people, and either, you know, triage basically. So it's incredibly important, and I don't think we'd function or have a reputation that we do for incident response if we didn't have that option for our people. We have a reputation that's probably second to none because of our responsiveness with state trunk line issues, issues that the sheriff's department needs our help with. We have very good, you know, we're very respected. And a lot of that is the fact that any given foreman can get there within 45 minutes to an hour of something happening. A lot of times even sooner than that.
Yep.
So. Okay. So now we'll talk a little bit more about mowing, which is kind of our dreams and our goals here for the next couple of years. So the pictures you see here are our current boom mower setups. You obviously have the boom, which is the yellow part, and then the mowing deck. And then they're mounted to New Holland tractors, just agricultural tractors. They're mounted to it. We retrofit them so we can use them for mowing. It was great. It's a traditional way of doing it, still fully functional. But now finally things are finding their ways to where they're a little bit better, a little bit more complex, but certainly more ergonomic for the operator and much more effective to what we're trying to accomplish.
Adam, can you explain the difference between boom mowing and what we do for contract services?
Yeah, so very simple. Contract services are essentially mowing on the ground, a swath, which is about 5 feet. We try to go 5 to 8 feet in our contract, but that's just ground mowing. So that's mowing. Boom mowing is aerial. So we're getting from the top down, from the ground up, however you want to consider that. We're trying to move back all the growth comes in and starts to kind of tunnel and trap a road to where you get to a point where if you can't maintain it the best, you can't get our equipment down through there. You can't get a fire truck through there, school buses, even garbage trucks, things like that. So we work really hard to do that. As you can see, we have 6 units that we bought starting in 2018. We actually have about 7 because one did burn in a fire, no injuries, just lost the unit. It was replaced in 2020, I think that was. So we're running a fleet of 6. I will let you know that they're not as shiny as they were in these pictures. This is when we first took them out. It's a little bit different status now. So unfortunately, we see a lot of them in the shop like this, where actually after I took this photo 2 weeks ago, last week we had 3 in the shop. So they get beat up. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of vibration. So I'll show you one real quick thing I want to zoom in on. So here's the deck. So it's a rotary deck. So it basically just swings like a mower blade. But what it does is as it's processing things, mowing brush, there's a lot of vibration. So it's very hard on the equipment in general, even though it's built to do that. It really beats the equipment up. So they start to fail. Now, fast forward 6, 8 years into having these, and they're starting to show that signs of failure. So we knew that it was time to start looking to really up our program. And that's what kind of brought us along the Mower Max, which we've talked a little bit about here the past few months. This is purpose built to really kind of help us go a little faster, be a little safer for operators, and make our stuff look a little bit better when we're done. I know it is, they are a good, aggressive looking unit. So I can describe a little bit at the help. So the reason for looking into this company, so I've watched this company evolve in general. Jim Harmon and I saw them 6 or 7 years ago when they were completely different, building them almost by themselves down in Florida. Parts were a little bit sparse. And so we just kind of let them continue on and build their generations and develop and get better. And so now they've kind of landed on this generation of unit, which is quite a mowing machine. The name probably does its best service, the Mower Max. So it can do quite a bit. You get generally we're going to be somewhere around the 20-foot or larger boom. So you'll be able to reach quite a bit above you, below you, out to the side if you're mowing behind things. And then this version, and this is the reason I select this picture, because the unit that we're trying to get ourselves set up for to actually help us process things to keep our work looking cleaner. Oh, it doesn't not working. There we go. So this is considered a grapple bucket. And what we can do is as we're mowing things,
Excuse me.
Yep.
What did you say it's considered a what?
it's called a grapple bucket.
Grapple?
Grapple bucket, yeah. And what it does, it opens up just like your hand, and it can clamp down on debris. The reason for that is so when we mow now, we can only process things down as far as we can. And so it doesn't look as good as we'd like it to. We'd like to kind of be able to leave and walk away and have it mulched up and look good. So what we're changing to is from the rotary decks, we'll still have one in auxiliary, but we're going to go to a rotating drum, which is what you see in the top right of the picture here. And that'll process things down and essentially chip the brush up a little bit better, grind it up a little bit. But if debris gets knocked out and displaced, or there's somewhere we don't want to process it right where we're cutting, then these grapple buckets, we can actually have the operator grab it and then take it somewhere down the road where they can process it and blow those chips off into the grass and let them just decay naturally. So it gives an opportunity to have a little cleaner look.
More questions, Commissioner Yamas?
So that looks like a bucket, but it's not a bucket. It operates a lot like the side mower? Is that what you're saying? That, you know, not the mower that you use for the bottom, but for the brush?
Yes, for the
side
boom.
rows?
That's what, these will take place of the boom mower. So that boom is here. And I should have got a picture we had on the side, but this is the boom.
Yeah.
It just curls back and retracts back like that so you can drive it down the road.
Okay,
And then that'll swing out just like a normal typical boom that can work in front of and behind the unit. And then,
okay. Swings to the right and to the left, I'm sorry.
in theory, yes, just on the right side though, you can mow behind yourself if you choose to, or you can mow all the way out. And that's where the ergonomics come in, because the operator will have a good vision point just essentially in front of them or off to their right. Whereas the units you have now, you have to kind of turn your whole body and you kind of have to look out the roof, and there's just a lot development went into this where you can see through the roof and you're kind of sitting in the seat and you're able to kind of look up at what you're cutting. And then that grapple bucket, it is technically a bucket that you could, you would put on the front of a loader or a backhoe. But it's just open like that because we just wanted to grab material and carry it off if we don't want to leave it wherever we find it. So that'll be helpful if we have, storm issues, things like that, as we develop this fleet and kind of roll these things out. We'll be able to move some brush with it that way.
Adam, I recall, does it have a blower attachment as well?
Yeah, so the back on ours, we put in a request to have them attempt to get a blower on the back of the unit, which I don't have a picture for that, but when ours does show up, when we do get one, we'll be able to show that it's essentially just an air unit that's hydraulically ran, but it's a blower motor that will blow any debris off the road. So we finish, everything's done. Instead of getting out and sweeping it by hand, we can turn this blower on as we're finishing going down the road and just shoot the chips off so they can decay and do their thing, and the road's clean and off we go. So we try to get kind of all-encompassing mowing unit that can also manage some brush if we have to with one unit. And that's why this company is 100% committed to like mowing first. And they've kind of expanded from there. You can put snow blowers on them. You can put brooms on them. There's all kinds of things for this picture actually where I edited it. There's like 6 other ones with all kinds of other different attachments and things on it. But our focus is to mow. Our focus is to get the debris controlled and kind of pushed off the road. So,
And this is one that we've talked to our peers. There are several road commissions in Michigan that have operated these units and been very satisfied.
yeah, so over the last 6 or so years, after that first year, we saw them at a show. Like I say, they've made improvements, and now they have so many units out in our region that now they have sales reps in the region. So then we can get parts easier, and they're still built in Florida, and they ship them right to you. They're pretty cooperative company that they try as best they can for their customers. A few years ago, we tested previous generation, and they actually shipped it from Florida for us to demo it, and then loaded it back up and drove it back down. I mean, so they try to help their customers. So now that they have a sales rep in the area, and I think potentially it may be, and now I can maybe check my math and report back to the board, but if I remember correctly, I think almost every county in the Southeast Council, I think, has one that they want to get, kind of like us as well.
Or
Yeah, on order. So,
What's the cost?
342, I think is, or 242, 342, I think. Let me go to it.
So
Stand
more
by.
than a motor grader.
No, nope, still, the motor graders are gonna be over 400.
450,
Yeah, about 450. They're close though.
more than a heavy truck.
Yeah,
Yep,
yep.
So how much are these?
or about it. Same
So-
as that.
There's a page in our packet.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
there you go.
Okay,
I
thank you.
didn't
You're welcome.
see that. You
No,
still
that's
have
okay.
questions?
Yes.
So, yeah. And then I can go back and answer more questions. I just wanted to
Commissioner
show
Green,
you that.
So, well, I guess this may answer one question. What is the most expensive piece of equipment that we have? Is it the loader?
per unit,
Per unit, yeah,
unit,
it's gonna
yes.
be your loader and your
right
grader.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the loader.
here, I'll try to zoom in, help a little bit. But yeah, the loader and the grader is probably I think the number one.
Okay.
And I say loader and the grader because it will fluctuate a little bit. Pricing for some reason is always up or down $10,000 or $20,000 for each of these units a year, which is just kind of odd. But unfortunately, now they're both like increasing 10,000, but then one year one will be cheaper and the next year is the next. And we don't have a lot of firm data on the loaders yet because we haven't bought one in a while. So we don't know what the final like upfitting price will be. And because sometimes that affects it a little bit because we have things we add to them. And we account for the whole thing, strobe lights, stickers, radios. So not just the price of the unit. So that's how we get that our overall cost. for
Out the
stuff.
door.
That's why a lot of our stuff is round numbers because we know it's gonna cost us $5,000 in lights and extra things we put on it before we can send it out to the fleet.
And what's it take to train someone on the boom mowers and something like the AppMax Mower Max?
So it takes, I'd say, a good part of a month running one. Our operators that demoed the one most recently, within 5-10 minutes, they were in because the ergonomics are better. They were moving and functioning. Every hour you spend with it, you get better. So a motor grader, a lot of like the nationwide, like kind of grader training and groups like that we've talked with, they estimate 5,000 hours to become proficient, so a few years of operating. Now that's a motor grader, so you're talking a little bit more complexity because you're setting the grade of the road and shaping things. But in a boom mower, I mean, you're gonna need a month or so of running it to where it's really gonna become that second nature. And so we have probably 15 to 20 people that can run them consistently well already. And so they'll just need to be getting used to the new systems. But this unit, having messed around a little bit with it, and our operators all gave good feedback when they got in it, because we got a good number of people, in them when we were demoing it. I think it's gonna be pretty short for them to get in and be able to be efficient. And then every day we'll just keep getting better with them, but we're only looking to get kind of one at a time. We don't want to do the 6 at once and kind of end up with
Oh.
6 old ones at the same time.
Right.
So we're gonna our goal is to one this year, one in 26, maybe if everything works out, do you do one at the end of 26? We just don't want everything to show up at once and everything end up being all old at once. It's not ideal for us. It gives Mike Livesey gray hair when they all start breaking at the same time. But that's kind of it on the Mower Max, unless somebody has some more questions, and then I can cover this last slide here and open up for more questions if you'd like.
Go ahead.
All right. So really, the goal for 2026 is exactly how we've been producing things the past few years here. We do need to consider loaders, a loader, a grader, our traditional 5 trucks that we've done uniformly. And then we're looking for 7 light fleet or pool vehicles into 2026. You see, if you recall, $55,000 was the average. We've had to, unfortunately, and which is reality, but we've had to edit that. Now it's $65,000 per because things don't get any cheaper. So that being said, we're somewhere around 7 pool vehicles that, is our goal. We may get more if we have to buy more pieces of equipment that are cheaper for next year, but with the estimated cost going up is unfortunate that we've had to make a little adjustment there. And then we would like to get another semi on order, and then with a tank trailer. So this is for our dust control program. We need one more complete setup to really get us to the point where we can rely less on these retrofitted older trucks that have hundreds of thousands of miles on them and they're quite a bit of years service under them before we put a tank on them and expect them to drive all summer. So we're really trying to lighten the load on those and just keep a few of those trucks for just the shorter roads or the subdivisions. We do have a handful of subdivision streets that we do have dust control responsibilities on. So we still like to have a truck that's nimble for that, but really the semi with 5,000 or 6,000 gallons of liquid is very important to us. It really helps that operation.
Yeah, the tanker trailer holds a lot more than
Yeah, about
a
essentially
retrofitted.
double. Yeah, essentially double of what we can put on a straight truck, we call it, which is
Great.
a retrofit dump truck. And then, as you see, we were just talking about, we'd like to have another Mower Max get ordered for next year and really start that rollout of that fleet.
And this is kind of the template we've been seeing in our budget.
Mhm.
Usually it's 5 trucks,
Yeah,
7 to 10 light fleet, a grader, and then usually we're mixing in different types of equipment. How many loaders do we have? They're vital
Yeah.
for our winter service, winter maintenance. Every yard has a loader.
yeah. So we're running about 7, but we have one that's starting to age. It's certainly not failing by any means, but it's oldest for us, which is, I think, 8 years old now. So it's went through a lot. It was on the heavy equipment crew first. Then we moved it to the Northeast Service Center to replace one of their aged out loaders. So we've used it quite a bit, but getting to the point we need to start considering, for the last 3 years, we've kind of made adjustments to what did we have to get, what was more important than that, and we're to the point now where we should try to stay focused on that unless some catastrophic issue comes about.
Yeah, every other year we should be looking at a loader, you know,
Yeah.
when you're looking at just numbers and averages as far as service life. We really need to stay in and around
Yeah.
about $4 million of equipment investment. Some years have to be leaner because we're doing maybe larger projects or facility investments. So it's that balanced approach to the budgeting. But this is what was in our look ahead, and this is what we anticipate putting in for our budget next year.
Yep, yeah, so in a bit of a fluid process, as you know, we do come across different pieces of equipment that, start to fail, or we need to add one, and then we make changes, we kind of start working through there, and then we triage what's a have to have, which is the dump trucks and the graders, and then where do we go from there if we have to make change, and so we try to work around that, the budget that's there. That's why it felt important for Matt and I to have this in for the group, just to get accustomed to seeing that from our look ahead and consistency, because then as the year develops, if we have to make any changes, then we've at least seen it a few times before we make a change.
Commissioner Yamas and then Commissioner Green.
So, we already have 64 pickups, SUVs and pool vehicles,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep.
And you're asking for 7 more. Are some of those, of the 64 being replaced?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would, so a lot of these, maybe except for the grader, typically, they're gonna displace
Mhm.
that number, and they would then be auctioned off.
Okay, so as I've been trying to keep track of cost and how many.
Yep.
Sure.
Is it possible to get an Excel sheet of what we have, what you want to replace, and what you're asking for? Because I've tried to dig that up to see where we're at. And
Okay.
I know that the max mower, so we already have 6 boom mowers. We're not replacing those, right?
We
We're just.
we
adding-
are replacing
Yeah,
one with the
One?
max mower. So
Okay.
Yeah.
when the boom mower, max mower arrives, then one of the oldest boom mower would likely either get retired or repurposed.
yeah, so essentially, when anything comes in, something usually goes out.
Okay.
For light fleet wise, the way it's been here recently, because we're starting to kind of streamline, like how many do we actually need, and some people are sharing, and so what we've done, sometimes something will come in and 2 will go out. It really depends on like what part of their life, if they've depreciated.
That they're in, so you
Yeah.
can't really anticipate that. So even this chart here, even if you just added another line that said your anticipated leaving, do you know what I mean, the group, or do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yep, yeah, I can do that for
Need
sure.
numbers on
Yeah, I
our
can
our
build
current
that.
fleet, happy to provide them,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is your concern, Commissioner?
I'm trying to figure out how much we're adding and how much is be
Because-
taken because of the budget,
And we go over that quarterly, right?
right?
Dan does a great job of going into great detail.
Right.
So your concern is that we are purchasing things that we don't need?
No, my concern is I just want to know.
Okay, okay.
For my
Okay.
own information, I have a better idea. I know he provides detailed, but that's what I want. Thanks.
Commissioner Green?
And I'm assuming that the mower max will completely replace the boom mowers.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
Yep, it's gonna take us a little bit of time. And like I say, by design. We don't all do it at once. We want a little bit of space in between. So one, we can run them because we want to make sure it fits this agency, it fits what we need, or it functions the way we expect it to. That builds us a little bit of time in there in case we need to shift and find a different manufacturer or a different type. But the main thing is you need a little bit of spacing because you just don't want them stacked up on each other, because then they'll quickly all become old at the same time. We can't afford to, 7 in, 7 out of the same scenario. You can do that with the light fleet, for example, because you have so many. And that's understood that you'd sell out, ones that are auction off, you'd auction off as you brought something new in, but we can't afford to have the whole fleet aged at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, it's important to have spares because we can't stop having a foreman because his truck's out,
Right.
down. So we do have spare vehicles, that we keep it in the fleet. Sometimes they're older vehicles, but they end up being a spare. And then the old spare gets
Yeah.
pushed out,
So we
so.
try to capitalize on.
Yeah,
opportunities.
ends up being, that's why we have, Mike Livesey and Adam
Yep.
to keep track of it all.
Yep.
Can the mower max do more work than the boom mowers
I believe it will.
or faster? Or
Faster.
not really?
I think it'll be more efficient with the type of unit that's actually gonna process the
Mhm.
brush. I think it's gonna be faster because it'll shred it down to 0.
Okay,
We can blow this stuff into the ditch and keep on moving. And I think it'll be a little more fine tuned mowing as opposed to our decks. It's not as pretty as we'd like it to be. And with these, it's a rotating drum. So
Mhm.
it's almost like a mill head that you see chop up the road when we mill the road out. And so we can process something essentially down to wood chips. And then move on to the next spot, process it down, and then continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be more.
Thank you.
Other questions, concerns?
All right,
Thanks, Adam.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Adam, you can take a break.
Okay, yeah,
Done a great job. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Next on the agenda, we do have a draft policy for your review. This is reflective of what's in the TPOM agreement. So there's going to be a variety of things that come before us as updates to reflect what's in the contract. For instance, we added 2 holidays and moved 1 holiday. So you have the holiday policy before you. It's a draft. We've never had an actual policy. We've always gone by what's in the contract. And I think it's well overdue to actually have a policy that is board approved and that it reflects those holidays in the new contract. So we moved what was Good Friday to President's Day. And then we added Juneteenth as a holiday and Veterans Day as a holiday. So that's what's in the agreement that's going to come before you this afternoon at 1 o'clock for approval. And we went over these at
That was with the working session materials.
the last board meeting and closed session, some of the contract changes. Some of the other things that will come before us, we'll be updating the footwear reimbursement for non-union. Did you need a copy of it, Commissioner? There you are. It's also on your screen.
Does
Yeah.
everybody have a copy of this?
No,
Was in your mailbox?
no.
No?
Nope, it wasn't in my mailbox.
Yeah, it's also on your screen. This is we can get you a copy. Again, it's very basic. We moved Good Friday to President's Day. The issue there was everyone thought we were closed on President's Day and no one knew we were closed on Good Friday. So we wanted to align it with the rest of the county. And then we added Juneteenth, June 19th, and Veterans Day, November 11th. So that is the policy that we would then bring back to the board for official approval at our next regular meeting. Any questions on this one?
So which one did you remove again, please?
We removed Good Friday,
Good Friday. Oh, you swapped.
yep,
Okay.
for President's Day.
Yep,
And then we added Juneteenth and Veterans Day.
right. Commissioner
Matt?
Green. Oh, I'm
I-
sorry, Matt. were you-
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that aligns with state of Michigan, city of Ann Arbor, Washington County. It really puts us more in line with our other governmental agencies.
Okay.
I would
Commissioner
just
Green.
like to say that I appreciate the addition of Juneteenth today. And I also, as a veteran, I appreciate the addition of Veterans Day. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions on the proposed calendar policy? Okay. Anything else, Matt? Any announcements, anything?
No,
Okay,
that's all we had.
all right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn the working session.
So moved.
Support.
If you would please call the roll, Shelby.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Working session is adjourned. We will be back at 1 o'clock to convene the regular session.